And welcome to a fabulous Friday before Father's Day weekend. Look how carefully I slowed down to enunciate all of that because nobody needs a George Carlin moment here on the radio. Happy to have you with me. I'm Bridgette Readel, the Ag Director here at WDAY Radio, and filling in as a meteorologist, you might say. So I'm in northern Cass County, and we anticipated being able to mow the lawn this afternoon. Spotty showers are everywhere. In fact, one just passed through here. It was loud, and that included some very small hail. So check your radar. There may be some opportunities for you to get some of those pop-up showers. Now, nobody said that's great for everyone, right? If you didn't want to water the flowers today, fantastic. Get a little rainfall. If you were trying to spray a soybean field or a cornfield, this might interfere. Keep your eyes on the horizon and watch closely, especially because we know that those wash-off times for some of the product that you're using might get affected. For those who don't know what a wash-off time is, let me interject just slightly. When you spray herbicides in the field, they have what are considered rain-fast times. That means they need to be on the plant for a certain amount of time before a rain can occur. Why would that matter? Some herbicides are contact, means they're going to be effective right away as soon as they hit the plant tissue. Some need to be absorbed through the leaf cuticle. And when you have days that are cooler, more cloudy, and that leaf is not as receptive to allowing something to absorb into it, you have to wait a little longer. And so we've got that mismatch of different times that you may need to be using depending on your tank mix situation. So that is in fact the case for a number of our farmers that are trying to get things sprayed. In fact, had a conversation with a producer down in McIntosh County on the phone last night because those pop-up showers have been interfering. And then, of all things, we had a little mishap. These things happen, right? We're in a hurry. We're trying to get stuff done. He had rinsed out his tank after having sprayed a blend for wheat, but was anticipating going back out to spray more wheat. Didn't happen. So we mixed up a batch to go out and spray some soybeans. But some of the residues in that tank from the wheat might have affected the upcoming soybean crop. So changes had to be made. There's a lot that goes into farming. The weather is just one of them. So today we're hoping to have that high of around 70 degrees. When I was out earlier, seemed like we were going to get there. And our rain forecast has upped it to 80%. Addison, you're at the studio today. It appears you're on the edge of the rain showers.
Yeah, it just started downpouring outside. It's kind of coming and going in waves, which is kind of fun to watch roll across the area near our building here.
Now, for folks who are curious what that looks like, you might be watching us on the live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. Addison makes sure that those cameras are up and checking out the great outdoors from the studio. And you can follow us by watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV. Speaking of Acres TV, that's the social media platform brought to us by Ag PhD. They also bring on the Ag PhD Media Field Day down at the Hefty Seed Company location in Baltic, South Dakota. That's coming up at the end of July. Make sure that you're holding some time to join me down there. In fact, I had some conversations about that event just earlier today. We'll be joined here in the month of July by Darren Hefty to talk about that upcoming event. Hopefully, the weather that you're seeing on our live stream today, which you can also see on the Acres TV live stream, is not what we have in the field in Baltic. In fact, it looks like, Addison, it's raining pretty heavy
You
right where
know,
you are.
it is a great time to be wondering, did I close the sunroof on my car? I'm sure I did.
Oh, do you want to? Should I talk a lot so you can dash out and make sure that's taken care of?
Nah, it'll be fine.
If not, you've just cleaned the interior of your car very cleanly.
It needed a
So,
scrub down anyways.
well, for anyone who's wondering how Addison's car is faring in the parking lot, you can call him on the JLA Insurance phone line 701-293-9000. That's brought to us by JLA Crop Insurance. Nate Thorsrud, he's a farmer too and wants to help you with your crop insurance needs. And for those who are just curious how Addison's doing, it's a great way to reach out to him, and then he can pass those messages on to me. If you want to reach me directly, you can email me, ag@flagfamily.com. Happy to have all of those messages coming in. I've been able to answer quite a few for folks throughout the week. Now, as this weekend progresses towards a fabulous Father's Day on Sunday, we're looking to hit 75 tomorrow and maybe even higher on Sunday with sunshine. Everybody's looking forward to that. For all of you attending June weddings tomorrow. In fact, I will be attending one as well. We can always hope that that beautiful 75 degrees and sunny turns out for the bride and groom. Next week, we're going to roll into some slightly higher temperatures, getting closer to that 80-degree mark, and there's a chance of rain again on Tuesday. So keep an eye on that forecast. Watch the radar. You just never know what might be coming up. I love to tell you about places to mark your calendars, right? So get those pencils out. Everybody ready? Or for those of you who are so quick and can type it right into your phone, here's some more things. It's not just the Ag PhD Field Day coming up at the end of July in Baltic, South Dakota. Y'all know I have a very soft spot in my heart for the National FFA organization, and particularly the North Dakota Association. North Dakota's FFA Foundation is inviting us to attend their first Forever Blue Social. This will be during the Red River Valley Fair. It'll be July 8th from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. Alumni, supporters, and friends are all invited to enjoy. If you'd like, you can stick around to check out the evening concert with Blackhawk. They're providing entertainment at 8 o'clock that night at the All Finished Concrete stand. Now, if you want to attend, there's a great way to do it. There is a flyer that I can send you that gives you free admission to the fair, the social, and the concert. So if you're curious about that, you're going to want to remember my email address, ag@flagfamily.com. I can help you attend not only the Red River Valley Fair, but most importantly, the Forever Blue Social for the North Dakota FFA Foundation coming up on July 8th out at the Red River Valley Fair. Folks, I know that doesn't sound like, oh, it's July, we've got a ways to go, it's only the 19th. We all know it'll be here sooner than we anticipated. We've talked this week quite a bit about the Red Power Roundup for IH tractors and other items down in Huron, South Dakota that's going to be taking place late next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm looking for room in my calendar to get there. I hope the rest of you are too. And if that's something that you don't get to attend, you could note that the Kerr Auction Historic Farm Days Consignment Auction is coming up on July 9th, and that will be in Penfield, Illinois. This is an auction featuring antique tractors, gas engines, muscle tractors. You can consign today. And this will be not only a live and on-site event, it will be simulcast nationwide. And again, that's going to be at Kerr Auction, and this will be in Penfield, Illinois on July 9th. So as you're looking through the shed and you're thinking, do I downsize in any of my tractors? Or is there one missing from my collection? Now is the time for you to get involved and get that tractor you might need. Currently, farmers are receiving phone calls from the National Ag Statistics Service asking them to get information in regards to the acreage reporting and their actual planted acres. Now, let's back this up for a minute. USDA's National Ag Statistics Service really wants this information. Farmers are a little less likely to be sharing right now. They're a bit miffed after last year's big debacle with sudden big corn acres appearing when we weren't expecting them late in the year. And so we've got folks that are holding off on sending in that information. I watched a farmer reject the call just the other night at supper, say, nope, not doing it. So there is a big push and a big request from the board chair for the USDA's NASS in order for farmers to participate. It is critical for that information. It's used not only with production and how it affects the markets, rail traffic, truck traffic, all sorts of transportation is based off of that, and so much more. There are 90,000 producers nationwide that USDA is trying to contact right now, and you might be one of them. So my ask is kindly consider that you might be able to answer those calls, fill out that information. USDA would very much like to do that with you. All right, fun things that are coming up. More and more often as I talk about Discover Dairy's Adopt a Cow program, I have teachers responding back saying, I'd like to do that. Now, I just played a small part in helping get this program to over 2 million students across the globe in this most recent school year. 48,000 classrooms participated. It's quite a new high note. And this program is made possible with the very generous support of the Dairy Excellence Foundation, donors and programs that include American Dairy Association, Northwest, Indiana, Midwest Dairy, and so much more. This Adopt a Cow program, teachers can start filling out their information and becoming a part of it starting in August. So if you're a teacher, you want to be thinking ahead about that, make a note to yourself. August is when you want to get this program started into your classroom. Teachers are saying that they are seeing 26% more of their students eating dairy foods and asking for them in their school lunch program. 64% of the teachers are from urban or suburban areas, with 75% telling us that their students weren't even knowledgeable about the dairy program and products until they started the Adopt a Cow program. I've already talked with Adopt a Cow. I'm hoping that here on Weather and Ag in Focus, we get to be part of the Adopt a Cow program for the coming school year. Now, we're not bringing the cow to the studios, so please don't come looking for him. Addison, if you have anybody call and want to know where the cow's at, it's going to be on a dairy farm in Minnesota.
It's going to be in my backyard.
Well, you can take care of him. I know what comes with that cow, and I'm not doing it. So we're going to use the Adopt a Cow program. I hope many of you with your school programs choose to do that too. Elementary students find so much good information. Part of their STEM comes from using this program as well. Got friends who have had kids in classrooms that are using it with their teachers and really loving the Adopt a Cow program. So we look forward to helping them with more success and being a part of it here on Weather and Ag in Focus as we get ready to go back into the school year this fall. It is time for the livestock report from the American Ag Network, and then we will be joined by Gregg Hansen with Hansen AgriCommodities talking about markets. We'll be right back. Greg Hansen is here from Hansen AgriCommodities for Market Uncovered because it's been a fairly good market week, you might say. And so, Greg, I think we had a USDA crop report, right?
Yeah, we had a report. The June report was pretty uneventful. Uh, Carryouts basically stay unchanged, but they did change some demand things on the corn balance sheet. They went and uh, cut the ethanol a little bit, but they raised exports by the same amount. On the bean side, it was kind of the opposite. They raised crush and drop exports, so it was kind of a wash. We figured it would be uneventful. They did go raise Brazilian and Argentine corn production. We figured that was going to happen. If there was any kind of surprise, it was that on the world balance sheet, you did see the Indians, the country of India, they did have a much bigger corn stocks number. And so we saw the USDA increase their stocks. So world stocks did go up, but it's still lower than where we were 2 months ago as far as what we thought we'd be. So I think really we traded that report for probably 5 minutes, and then we were trading weather, to be honest. So pretty
I
uneventful
like
report.
that. We only needed that report for 5 minutes. We drove right on past it. It's all fine.
Yes.
So I I did have a question from a listener saying, I've got some unpriced bushels out there, particularly for corn. Any good ideas for that farm right now, or is it, hey, where were you 6 months ago kind of thing?
Well, there's some of that. I mean, hindsight's 2020. No one anticipated the board would drop as much as it did. But you look at the calendar; it's the 19th of June, and typically, there's a long-term seasonal. Late June, early July is when this thing peaks. So we do think there could be an opportunity for this market to rebound a little bit in the short term. We need something to kind of to get it going, whether that's a change in weather, whether it's uh, you know do things in the Middle East work out or not. But I think the calendar is against you, and with where we are on the globe from
Hmm.
the corn basis side, I mean, in the short term, we've seen maybe a slight improvement in basis, but we all know there's a lot of corn out here that needs to find a home before harvest, and it's all going to be looking for a home at the same time. So from the cash side, that basis will more than likely it's going to get a lot worse as we get closer to harvest. Futures, I say I hold out hope we can get a bounce, but don't get married to a long position. I mean, any kind of bounce is a chance to sell.
And right now, with, as you said, there's a lot of corn still in storage on the farm. It's got to go someplace. So it's going to have to start moving pretty quick here, I would imagine. I think we'll see more and more trucks heading to town, you might say.
Yes, and it's not that we don't have good demand. I mean, yeah, the ethanol margins have backed off some, but I mean, the ethanol grind, they're still grinding corn. We just
Hmm.
don't have enough ethanol in this part of the country to chew through it all, so we need to rail it out. And I mean, these shuttles are moving. The BNSF isn't performing the greatest, but we are seeing shuttles of corn going west like crazy. Um, and it sounds like the capacity is pretty well booked through July out there. So it's not that we don't have demand. We have good demand. We just did such a good job of raising such a big crop. We just, it's going to take some time, and there's going to be about a 2 month window where with corn movement out here, it's going to kind of feel like harvest time. There's just a lot of corn to move, and we only have a short amount of time till the next one's coming, and we're off to a great start again.
Now, speaking of, you mentioned the Middle East just a few minutes ago, and I saw some information that talked about there was some movement with some corn on barges, etc., on ships in the Middle East that were starting to move out. Is that going to give us much of an impact, if anything at all, or is it just helping to move around that backlog that might be sitting there?
I think it's kind of the backlog. I mean, we'll start to see ships move like they're supposed to. Not only is there vessels of crude wanting to get out, but there's vessels of commodities that want to get in, whether it's foodstuffs or grains or whatever. So I mean, just getting the strait open will at least start to get things back to normal. How long does it last is the big question. But every day that we can get things moving and get ships unloaded, get them reloaded, that's just going to be better for the world economy.
Well, I think that's everybody's looking forward to that as well and wanting to see some changes. Speaking of changes, I don't think anything's really happened now as this whole E15 situation has moved to the Senate. I don't think anybody's made a move on that at this point, have they?
It's it's just kind of stagnant here. I mean, we all know we all want E15. I am a firm believer someday it'll happen, but it doesn't have the votes today. And so,
Yeah.
unless you can tie it to another piece of legislation, it's dead in the water there until we get through the next midterm elections, see what the makeup is of Congress at that point. But we just don't have enough votes today to push it through on our own. Trump has said he will sign it if you get it to his desk. It would be nice if he would help it through. But right now, that's kind of where we're at. So, I mean, someday it's going to happen. It's just, is it next year, 2 years, 5 years? We don't know, but it's not today.
I'm with you. It's a someday thing. We just aren't sure which day it's going to land on. Um, Recent reports out of Iowa and Nebraska about tar spot. Do you think that's a problem that really impacts our corn market anymore, or do we all just know disease is going to happen? Period.
It tends to be more localized. So it tends
Hmm.
to, I mean, we know we've had a lot of fungicide issues, southern Minnesota into Iowa and Illinois. We know it took some yield away in areas, but I think it's that, it tends to be more of a basis thing because it's more localized.
Hmm.
It's really rare to have, it's kind of like hail. It sucks if it's you, but it's usually not enough to cause a major change in the Chicago Board of Trade. I think it's the same deal, but it was so widespread last year with all the southern winds and all the perfect wet situation. You might get another year where you see that again, but then again, even though we had lots of areas with it, we had a record crop last year, so it tends to be
Right.
more localized.
Well, decisions are still being made for folks as they think about, what's their crop that's currently in the ground? How are they going to be marketing that? And you're probably fielding a number of questions in that regard to date as well.
Yeah, we're really starting to talk about that here in the next week or so. We'll want to start thinking about making plans on, old crop that's in the bin, and with the potential for another big one coming here locally. I mean, Minnesota, Dakota is in pretty darn good shape compared to the rest of the nation. Is it possible we get two big ones in a row? And we already saw what happened last year with space. I mean, space will be a premium, and that's why I think the sooner people look at getting those bins emptied out, number one, the basis will hopefully be all right now. It's not great, but it will get worse as the rest of this grain moves. And you're going to need space for that new crop coming too. And then I guess, as we get another week or so down the road, we'll have a better handle on what the potential is. And then we will have to go and start thinking about, all right, the market is going to go and try to have a carry to justify holding all this crop. Um, if you have room, you should be able to get paid to do so.
Mhm. Yep. That's the best thing. Get paid if you can. Greg, for folks who want to reach out to you and talk with you one off when you're back in the office, how can they do that?
You can give me a call at 507 338 6433. Otherwise, you can always check out our Facebook page or check us out at hansen-ag.com.
Thanks, Greg. You have a fabulous Father's Day weekend. And folks, when we come back, I don't know if our guest is going to be able to join us. Mike Neff was going to be here with Summit Agro Solutions, but I think he ran into a situation that he couldn't get away from. So don't worry. I got headlines, news, and happy to take your calls when we return. I always love that slide. It's like sliding us right into the weekend. And hopefully, it's a fabulous Father's Day weekend for so many of you. Thanks to the dads in our lives and all the great things they bring forward to us. Tech Support Farm is also wanting to remind you that on a fabulous weekend like this, make sure dad's business interests are protected. Do the fence check assessment with him at techsupport.farm. Check out what might be going on in your operation that could be improved because nobody wants to be losing time or money when it comes to their cybersecurity. So Tech Support Farm will take care of that for you. Check them out at techsupport.farm. And AgriCo. Now, have you been thinking about a building project? Some have. Maybe you're still looking to replace a shed from last year in the storms that blew through here. And if so, Anderco could be working with you. If you're planning a new steel commercial, ag, or industrial building for your farm, your operation, they'll get it done right. For the last 20 years, everyone across the region who's worked with them has trusted Anderco Enterprises of Fargo. They have a reputation built on experience, reliability, and results that stand the very long test of time. You can find them andercoenterprises.com and that phone number. Let's just say you want to give them a call, whether it's today or Monday, 701-277-7078, and they will be able to take care of your building needs. All right. I love great ag headlines, but sometimes I find things that are adjacent to agriculture. Food, certainly food production is adjacent to agriculture, but even better is some of the stories behind things that we use every day that really help us move our food, literally. Okay, so back in 1937, folks weren't really using shopping carts like we know of today. Often you would go to, especially if you were in a rural community, you went to your general store and you just walked along, talked to your grocer, and picked out the things behind the counter that you needed. And they'd pile them up and box them up and send them on home with you. But there was a gentleman who was in the larger urbanization areas, if you will, who saw the need for something different. So in 1937, Sylvan Goldman worked with his friend and a mechanic by the name of Fred Young to put together the first shopping cart, and they did it at the Humpty Dumpty supermarket chain in Oklahoma City. Personally, Humpty Dumpty as a supermarket makes me smile a little bit. Who doesn't love a name like that? So Goldman, he owned the supermarket, and he wanted something that people could push around the store to collect and buy more items. Seems like a great idea, right? Their first design looked like a wooden folding chair. And then they put a metal frame on it, they added wheels and a wire basket, and they wanted to start mass producing these. So it was not until April of 1990 that they actually awarded a patent or were awarded a patent for the folding basket carriage for self-service in stores. Now, they were not immediately liked. Here's the reason why. A lot of people thought they looked like a baby carriage, and men of the 1940s weren't pushing that. Nope, not doing it. Even some women who said, I have pushed my last baby carriage, didn't want them either. So they now had to engineer the social acceptance of the grocery cart as much as it was changing the buying habit of what everybody was using. So what they did was hired people to come in and start shopping with the carts to help their popularity catch on. Once other shoppers saw ordinary people using the cart without any shame, the dam broke and the folding style shopping carts became extremely popular. This Sylvan Goldman, he was quite an interesting cat. He and his brother had opened the Goldman Brothers Wholesale Fruits and Produce in Breckenridge, Texas. Initially very successful, but the situation deteriorated once the oil boom in Texas ended. Then they went to California. They worked for some grocery wholesalers before beginning their own grocery store chain in Oklahoma. And they worked with their uncles who wanted to start this chain. The uncles offered to put in all the money and seed the two brothers, this would have been Sly Goldman and his brother, a 75% interest in the venture. It was a pretty generous offer, and that got started with what they'd seen in California, bringing it to Oklahoma, and that's where they started supermarkets because that was already a thriving business on the coast, but it really wasn't yet in the Midwest. So there you go. That's how we all got a shopping cart, was because Sylvan Goldman saw a need, wanted to make sure that people bought more when they were in a store, and you couldn't hold it all. So they got a shopping cart. I think it worked out perfectly. I used one just earlier today myself. Now, other items that are happening in the news, North Dakota State University next week is holding a crop management field school on June 24th near Carrington. So the day is going to start at about 9 o'clock, weather permitting. Most of the activities are going to be outside. If you want to sit through weed management sessions, including weed ID and also walking through their weed arboretum, and also looking at a review of herbicide groups, crop injury symptomology, and a demonstration plot, that'll be happening. The afternoon, there's a detailed review of crop growth stages for quite a number of crops, and there'll be a lot of different ag professionals who will be attending throughout the day. Alicia Harstead, who is an NDSU Extension Agent and Natural Resources Management Agent out of Barnes County, is one of the leaders to put together this event, and we look forward to seeing what it looks like. Side note, Alicia is also going to be hosting the Snapchat account for Ag Mafia next week. So if you have Snapchat and you're not following this, it's agmafia_snap. Every week, there is a different host from a different part of the United States talking about all of the things that happen in agriculture in their world. Now, this week we had a host from North Dakota, and he's been talking about canola specifically, but also questions in relationship to whether or not to spray glyphosate and so much more. Next week, we'll now have another North Dakotan, as Alicia Harstead with the Extension Service is going to be hosting that. Who might show up the week after? What if we talk about drainage? How about mesquite spraying in Arizona? More in-depth information from canola farmers? That might happen too. You got to follow along to see who's new and what's happening on that account every single week. So, Bayer Crop Science, major company out there in the marketplace for crop inputs, and they have committed to maintaining for at least 7 years. And this is happening following an investigation by the Department of Justice into exclusionary conduct within the U.S. corn and soybean markets. Okay, so what's been happening? Bayer's not the only one, but one of the things that they did was they had some loyalty programs. If you bought X amount of corn seed as well as soybeans, you earned greater discounts. Investigators have raised concerns that this structure was anti-competitive, and it really tied the two crops together, which effectively squeezed out a number of alternative options. Bayer has formally committed to a 7-year ban on reinstating that practice. Additionally, the Department of Justice targeted those incentives within the program that discouraged independent seed companies from licensing technology from Bayer's competitors. Bayer has also eliminated those provisions, agreed not to revise them, or any substantial similar incentive program for the next 7 years. So a bit of a change in some of those internal practices that Bayer was doing, and we'll see what that leads to for changes in the marketplace. By the time we get to late summer 2026, and by late summer I'm talking August into September, we're already going to start to see planting decisions, seed purchasing decisions being made for 2027. So we'll see how this plays out in the marketplace with some of these changes that again have come through the Department of Justice investigation with Bayer, and I'm sure that will also affect a number of the other competitors in the marketplace at the same time. It won't just be limited to what's going on with Bayer Crop Science. We'll have another check of the weather. We're going to keep talking about what's happening in the headlines for the marketplace of agriculture today. Happy to take any phone calls that you've got and want to visit. You can reach me on the JLA insurance phone line. That number is 701-293-9000. You can also email me ag@flagfamily.com. And again, we're sliding right into that fabulous Friday for Father's Day. Looking forward to talking with you just a little bit more when we return. Holy weather alert, Batman. It is that storm, that little rain shower that passed through me is now at the studio. Addison, cars are pulling over even to be a little concerned about the downpour.
Yeah, cars were pulling over on the side of the highway here. Traffic slowed down to what looked like maybe 50, maybe even 40 or 30, but I see some people are starting to head back out
Pick
now.
her back up.
It has gotten lighter. I have lost view of the bridge from my control room down the road from us, but I see it in the camera, so
The bridge that Addison's talking about is the Tri-Deck Bridge at the junction of I-29 and I-94. Our studios are just south of that. As I'm remote today, Addison is the guy keeping an eye on everything, which thankfully you're doing that. And you mentioned just a little bit of hail. So I can't believe you're still in the control room and not outside laying across your car in the parking lot to save it from any hail.
you should see how my leg's bouncing right now.
I'll just take over. You go outside and check on things. It'll be all right. It's
Don't
that
tempt me.
soft hail. It's just kind of splatting out there. It's like throwing frosting on the ground. It's going to be fine.
I'm gonna walk
I'm just
out there
reassuring you.
and circle my car like a hawk. That it will be. It will be. Oh, and you know what? And here's a fun little tidbit for anyone who's just watching the streams. Our EAS light
Yes.
just lit up. So
Oh, emergency weather services, basically, right?
yep, the emergency alert
Okay.
system. So there must be something out there somewhere that someone's got to know.
All right. You go outside and take care of those things. I'm going to talk about the weather just a little bit because it's going to get better with these scattered showers passing through by tomorrow through Monday. We're looking for 75 to 78 degrees the next 3 days. Mostly sunny from what I can tell. I mean, I'm not sure how to gauge that the best, but by the time we get to Tuesday next week, it's going to near 80, and we've got another chance of some of these spotty showers as well as next week, Thursday. So keep an eye out, like I mentioned, whether you wanted to get a car wash, if you got to water the garden, or you're worried about getting some things sprayed out in the field. These things are going to pop up and be a little bit of a concern from time to time. Calm down, Addison. I swear it's okay. But again, he can't hear me. He's probably out there laying across his car trying to be protected from hail. Cattle. Let's talk a little bit about cattle. You know, you've heard me mention several times how beef, the amount of beef that we get off each animal as we harvest them has gotten bigger and bigger over the last few years. So even as we have seen the herd shrink overall with the actual number of animals in the U.S. herd, we are still able to take quite a large number of beef pounds off of every animal. How much? The USDA has estimated that carcass weights have increased by about 47 pounds within the last 2 years. That'd be 47 pounds per animal. Now, there's some things that we have to take into consideration in addition to that. If we're tipping the scales in this favor, we also have to watch for the genetics and the overall health of the animals. Foot structure, skeletal structure, because now we've got to be able to support a larger animal. So you might be looking at some of the breeds and bringing more of those positive traits from one breed to the other through traditional methods. Last week, Friday, we talked just a brief amount about the Shorthorn Association has identified some very healthy heart and lung traits in that breed that need to be used with other breeds out there. So you're doing some more crossbreeding with the Shorthorn to others to give them a little bit of better heart and lung capacity. Because as those animals get bigger, the heart and lung situation will change too. You've got increasing weights. Think about heat stress. When you have a larger animal, you have the potential for more stress on the carcass, the frame, and the feet, as we talked about, but also when they get warm, it's a bigger animal that warms up. Cows don't sweat. We've mentioned that before. And so you have to have good precautions to make sure that you can keep those animals cool in warmer temperatures as you're moving them towards finishing, especially black-hided animals. So you're looking at having shade in some of the feedlots and pasture areas, whether it's with trees or some man-made shade. You also can look at sprinkler systems like in a feedlot system and able to get them to cool. Some folks just make sure that they have access to ponds so that they can get down into the water. In fact, Addison mentioned he saw some of his first man-made shades in pastures when he was on his vacation just a couple of weeks ago.
I did. I saw them in South Dakota. I thought they were pretty neat actually, and the cows under them looked like they were really enjoying themselves.
They're kind of like giant patio umbrellas.
Yeah,
that's what they look
that's
like.
what it looked like. And there was one cow who had climbed its way right up out of the center of that thing. King of the castle, king of the shave.
I would be too. I would be the king of the shave. Now, when we take those animals into the processing facilities, so many of our packing plants were built before this increase in size of carcass weights. And so we now have to see that it takes a little bit longer time to move these animals through processing because they're larger. Not all of the equipment is standardized for that size and weight anymore. So when we think about what's happening overall for beef animals and how much it's improving, there are some changes that we have to take into consideration as well. Oh, so much discussion about the New World screwworm. And we have U.S. beef exports that are being discussed more and more frequently because of it. So Chuck Grassley down in Iowa has talked to a number of news outlets and has mentioned that that Canada has temporarily blocked livestock imports from Texas. So here's the thing. He's in Iowa. This situation is happening in Texas. I'm not too worried at this point that Canada said we're not taking any live animals out of the U.S. because we don't usually ship north in the summer, right? That's not what we're doing. We would typically be shipping the opposite direction, bringing them down here. If we're shipping to feedlots, a lot of times we're shipping to feedlots in the Midwestern parts of the states. We don't have a lot that go north right now. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has said that animals from Texas and have not been present near their border within 21 days will not be allowed into the country. Okay, that's fair. We understand why they're doing that. And we do know that a number of preventative methods are being taken so that we don't have the concern with the screwworm with the majority of our herd or other mammals. Many of you heard the conversation that Dr. Russ Daly had on Tuesday. He's a veterinarian down at South Dakota State University. He talked with Justin from the Lakes in my place on Tuesday. And Dr. Daly mentioned it's not just one thing that you're going to do. If the screwworm is discovered, which they did in a 3-week-old calf, they saved the calf. The calf didn't die. They were able to use a combination of injectable medications as well as topical, and they did close monitoring. There was about 6 or 7 steps that went into play to keep that animal healthy and prevent further spread of the screwworm larvae within the animal's healthy tissue. So as much discussion is going on about screwworm right now, I'm not in a panic situation about it for us here in the Upper Dakotas, but also I see Canada making this as a positive step to protect their herd. I'm not surprised at it, but I don't think it's going to negatively impact what we're doing overall right now. Here we are, getting mostly through the month of June. It's still June is dairy month, and I hope you're all taking advantage of it. When we think about the byproducts that happen within dairy, one of the things is whey protein. It comes from the cheese making process. And right now, everybody wants more protein in so many ways. It's really quite the mania. Biggest food companies are rolling out higher protein versions of things, including protein Eggo waffles, cold foams at Starbucks, and a proliferation of protein boosted bars, shakes, sodas, candies, snacks, and more. The protein dissolves very well, it digests easily, and it can be added quite simply without changing the food or structure, the taste or the structure of that food. And some suppliers, they're out already for the rest of the year. And what's still available for whey protein supply has shot up more than 40% on average. So be looking for some of your favorite new protein added products taking a price increase because of such a very high and strong demand that we're seeing. Continue to enjoy June is Dairy Month because we're going to roll into July soon enough, which is National Ice Cream Month. And I have great stories in history about how some of your favorite flavors came to be. We'll talk about those as we get into July, and we'll talk about more next week here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Stay tuned. Jay Thomas has much to share coming up after 2 o'clock.